Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, here once again with Norman Conquest. This is the last video of the series. And it says Sicily, multicultural kingdom of Normans, Greeks, and Arabs. It doesn't give a date or anything. I know it for at least 100 years. There's they live happily ever after, all these different cultures, but is this how it gets to be that way? Or maybe it's how they are together for this 100 years at least. I don't really know what to expect, to be honest, with this, because this is the last one, so this is going to be like the closure, I guess, because this is going to, tie all the loose ends together, maybe, and, whatever, I guess, and kind of like, yeah. I don't know. I also want to say I apologize. I've had a couple of drinks tonight, and it's 11 o'clock at night, so it's kind of late. So I just want to go ahead and apologize for that. So yeah, there's that. I hope you guys are having a great day. And here we go, guys. I don't know what else to say. The previous episode. What happened in the previous episode? Oh yeah, we had some deal with. I guess it's just a thing when it comes to popes, that if you don't like the current pope, you just replace them with the one you like that benefits you the most. If you're the boss, if you're like a king or something, I guess that's just a thing. Yeah, so there's that happened, and the king of Germany, got his awesome title. The Normans basically kind of kept their own kind of land there in the south of Italy, so they're still going strong. They kind of got pushed out of Rome, but it's all good. They still got Italy, and that guy was Alexos or something. When you guys were saying in the comments that he actually is in the First Crusade, I didn't realize how close to the First Crusade we were in. So it's kind of cool how this all ties in together. I don't really remember him from the First Crusade, to be honest, because it's been a while since I've done that video. And when I do so many videos that a lot of the names just get lost or mixed in with different videos. So I apologize. If I should be picking up stuff that I'm not from different videos, brain just can't really hold that much information. I'm sorry. But we're here for fun. We're here to learn. We always have fun doing these videos. I always learn, even though I don't always hold all the information. But yeah, we're here to have fun, guys. And yeah, let's get to the video. Before I do, please hit that like and subscribe button below. Please and thank you. And yeah, we're doing Kings and Generals. It's the last video on this series, and then we're on to, I don't know what we're going on to, but I'm sure whatever it is, we're going to enjoy doing it, right? So anyways, 3, 2, 1, bam.
Here lies Anna, the mother of the priest Crescendus, priest of the royal, sovereign, excellent, magnanimous, veneered, splendid Saint Majesty, and benign, strong for God's grace, stable for the divine will, that reigns on Italy, Lombardy, Calabria, Sicily, and Africa. These words were originally inscribed in Arabic on the tombstone of a Norman noblewoman in Sicily, a tombstone that also featured epitaphs in Greek, Latin, and Hebrew, a symbol of multiculturalism at the crossroads of the medieval world. Thus far in our series, we have covered the Norman conquest.
I just want to say that's pretty cool when you have, text on a tombstone from different languages on a woman's tombstone back in the day. So this woman had to be pretty special, right? And I'm assuming with that intro, we're going to kind of, I'm assuming it's going to dive into, how that came to be. I think it's pretty obvious, right? Or else why would they bring that up? But anyways, they're able to explain what we just went over. So let's check this out, guys.
World. Thus far in our series, we have covered the Norman conquests in southern Italy. In this episode, we will see the culmination of their efforts, examining how a collection of warlike duchies became the richest, most sophisticated, and most multicultural kingdom in medieval Europe.
Wow.
Welcome to our final video on the Normans in Italy. This
Okay.
video is sponsored by Battle Warship Naval Empire, a free-to-play real-time strategy game. As a
That's not-
commander,
not
you
my
develop
kind
your
of
naval
game.
base. The Norman seas are calling. We last left off in the year 1084. The Norman Duke Robert Guiscard and his son Bohemond de Hauteville had tried and failed to conquer the Byzantine Empire. The years that followed saw a little event known as the First Crusade, where Byzantine Emperor Alexius Komnenos was surely surprised to see Duke Bohemond at the gates of Constantinople in 1095 AD, not to destroy his empire, as he had very nearly done so 10 years prior, but to help the Byzantines fight the Seljuk Turks. The Norman participation in the First Crusade was successful, so successful that Duke Bohemond soon became Prince Bohemond of the Principality of Antioch. Meanwhile, back west, Count Roger I of Sicily, the man who conquered the island from the Muslims, passed away in 1101, succeeded by his son. The young Roger II represented a new breed of Norman leader. While his legendary father and uncle had been born on the cold shores of Normandy and made their fortunes as adventurer warriors, Roger II grew up among the cosmopolitan and multilingual world of the Sicilian urban elite, educated by Greek and Muslim tutors. Whereas old generation Normans were Vikings living and dying by the sword, Roger II was scholar first and warrior second, perfectly content to rule with ink and quill, finding that a well-placed whisper here and a timely bribe there was far more efficient than warfare. One thing the young count had in common with his relatives was an endless iron-willed ambition. During this time, all of Norman Italy was divided into two political entities, the Duchy of Apulia and Calabria and the County of Sicily, further subdivided into the fiefdoms of various independently minded barons. While Roger II inherited the island of Sicily in 1105, he was not content with owning only part of the pie. Thus, the young count set about unifying all of Norman Italy under him. Opposition to his rule was great. The various Norman barons of the south had long resented the hegemony of the House of Hauteville. Furthermore, the papacy, who had a long history of being mishandled by the Normans, certainly preferred their southern neighbours to remain divided and squabbling. Nevertheless, through schemes, inheritance claims, and a sprinkling of bigger army diplomacy, Roger II had established total feudal control over all Italian Norman domains by 1127, thereby encouraging Pope Honorius II to begrudgingly recognize him as the Duke of the United Norman Realm. Not content with the title of Duke, Roger II
I love how like the Pope is just easily persuaded. Okay, you got a big army. Okay, you can have what you want. You be called whatever you want. I just, I'm not going to say it. I just don't think it looks good on a religion in these kind of situations when, the Pope can get pushed around, it's like when like big people in religion, and Pope is like the biggest person in Christianity, right? When, they can, when they can kind of get pushed around to for the needs of others. I just don't think it looks good. I know I probably opened Pandora's box by saying that, but I'm sorry. I don't mean it in a bad way.
Norman realm. Not content with the title of Duke, Roger II came to believe that there was only one title befitting him. However, one could not simply declare himself a king in the medieval world. Such a title required the recognition of the supreme pontiff of the Catholic Church, and the papacy was lacking in goodwill towards the Normans at that moment. Nevertheless, opportunity struck in 1130, when reigning Pope Honorius II passed away. In his wake, a power struggle consumed the Vatican between two claimants to the papacy, Innocent II and Anacletus II. In the end, it would be Innocent II who was consecrated as Pope, becoming recognized by most of the Catholic world. This left his chief rival, now anti-Pope pretender Anacletus II, desperate for allies. On Christmas Day of 1130, Duke Roger II became King Roger II of the Kingdom of Sicily, crowned by his new friend Anacletus, whom Roger in turn recognized as the supreme pontiff of the church. The only problem was that by supporting a widely reviled anti-pope, Roger II had made himself the enemy of pretty much the entire rest of the Catholic world. Enraged, Pope Innocent called the Norman king a half-heathen on account of Roger's tolerant attitude towards his Muslim subjects, and called for a crusade against him. This was all.
What's the difference between what Roger just did and like basically what the King of Germany did, like the episode before? It's the same thing, right? You kind of want the Pope in there that, you know, supports you, right? I mean, it's no different, but, you know, I guess, you know, Roger doesn't have, you know, as big a kingdom, I guess, to kind of support him, you know, as the King of Germany did, right? I don't know.
Muslim subject.
I find this stuff really interesting, though, so, you know, I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea.
And called for a crusade against him. This was all the excuse that Roger's vassals in Apulia needed to revolt against him, supported by the Emperor of the Germans, the Byzantine Empire, and of course the papacy.
Move. Okay, guys, it's okay. We still got this. Got this.
Roger proved as capable a wartime leader as his father had been, eventually crushing the rebels despite their German allies and Greek funding. In 1138, the antipope died, but a year later his son, another Roger, managed to ambush and destroy a papal army led by Innocent II and capture the pope himself. With Innocent as his hostage, Roger II secured the recognition of his title and the sovereignty of his realm from the proper pope. Thus, for the first time, the Norman realm in Italy was both at peace and unified under a single capable ruler. It is during the enlightened and stable reign of Roger II that we will thoroughly examine what made Norman Sicily unique, its multiculturalism. Even before the Normans arrived, southern Italy was the crossroads of the medieval world, where Byzantine East, Latin West, and Islamic South met and coalesced. When the French Norsemen conquered the entire region, the peoples who lived there prior became integrated as subjects in the new Norman realm. By the reign of King Roger, the Normans were a ruling minority, presiding over a population that was predominantly made up of Lombards, Byzantine Greeks, and various Muslim ethnicities, mainly Arab and Berber. As a result, the cultures of Latin, Greek, and Muslim worlds blended together. Let us first look at the civil administration of the Norman kingdom. Interestingly enough, the language of the royal court in Palermo was not Latin or Norman French, but Greek, the language of the Eastern Roman Empire. By 1115, all edicts and written documents published by the royal court were composed in Greek, although Latin and Arabic were still used in more local levels of government. Despite the superficially Byzantine nature of the royal Norman court, the meat and bones of the kingdom's inner administration was distinctly Arabic in design. After all, the Islamic caliphates were among the most wealthy and sophisticated nations in the world, and the internal administration of Norman Sicily was mostly modeled on the institutions of Fatimid Egypt. So prominent was this Islamic influence that throughout Norman rule of Sicily, several highly influential Greek-speaking nobles would serve under the de Hauteville kings under the title of Amiratus Amiratorum, Emir of Emirs. We cannot talk about Norman Sicily without talking about its massive contribution to the high culture of the Middle Ages. King Roger was an enthusiastic patron of the fine arts, and his royal court in Palermo was abound with the creators of paintings, mosaics, architecture, and literature, much of which, to the great joy of historians, survives to this day. In terms of intellectual value, Roger was particularly fond of Arabic culture. The king spoke Arabic fluently and employed many Islamic poets, scholars, architects, and scientists in his court. Perhaps the greatest legacy of Islamic influence on Norman Italy is the Nujat al-Mushtaq fi Iqtirak al-Afaq, known in Latin as the Tabula Rogeriana. This was a comprehensive world map put together over 15 years by the world-class cartographer Muhammad al-Idrisi, who was employed in King Roger's court. Remarkably accurate for its time, al-Idrisi's map would be used by the likes of Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama for their great voyages 300 years later, playing a key role in the colonization of the New World.
Wow.
On top of Arabic influence, King Roger also brought in skilled laborers and scholars from across the Christian world. He imported skilled masons and stone carvers from all across Italy, England, and France, with Latin notaries from Rome. From the Greek East, he brought in mosaicists, logothetes, silk weavers, and scribes, all of whom were well versed in the sophistication and grandeur of Constantinople, and helped bring some oriental splendor to the Norman realm. The greatest monuments.
This is it's kind of like a breath of fresh air. That he's not a warrior. He basically he likes like diplomacy, I guess. Then, but he's just trying to improve the land that he has, the land that he was kind of given. He just they earned. He's not trying to invade and get more and more land. The land he has, he just wants to make it the best he possibly can. And he don't care where you're from or what you believe in or anything, as long as you kind of have the same kind of drive as him, and you want the same thing as him, as far as just trying to improve life for yourself and others and all that stuff. Then he's probably down for you, and that's why he brings all these people from the outside, all these professionals at their craft, and just to build like an awesome world, an awesome kingdom for himself, because he doesn't want to waste all these resources and money, just trying to find new land and stuff. Like, just make make Sicily the best it can be, and I guess the people and money will follow. So I think most people back then, I think, just want to live in peace. So that's kind of cool how he's bringing all these people in.
Some oriental splendor to the Norman realm. The greatest monuments to Arab, Byzantine, Latin harmony can be found in the great cathedrals of Sicily. In the grand city of Palermo, the Cappella Palatina, or Palatine Chapel, features distinctly Byzantine Greek mosaics superimposed over Arabic Egyptian arches and geometric ceiling designs, all interlaced within an overall Norman architectural design. The wealthiest kingdoms are built upon international trade, and Norman Sicily, being a multicultural melting pot situated in the middle of the Mediterranean, was perfectly positioned to become an international center of commerce in the medieval world. Furthermore, the First Crusade had established several Christian kingdoms along the Levantine coast, including the predominantly Norman Principality of Antioch, opening up the Latin world to direct trade with the Middle East. Roger II was hesitant to actively participate in the crusading, but he was certainly eager to benefit from the commercial opportunities they created. Like any wise ruler, the Sicilo-Norman king was a master of delegation and handed matters of commerce to his members of court who had experience in such things. One such man was George of Antioch, an Orthodox Christian of Armenian extraction. George was a considerably worldly man by medieval standards, and an incredibly shrewd politician, having previously served under both the Byzantine Emperor and the Zirid Emir in North Africa. Sometime before 1123, he entered the court of Roger II, and was instrumental in helping him establish control over all of southern Italy. He had immensely valuable connections within many of the royal courts throughout the Mediterranean, including with elites in Cairo, Constantinople, Jerusalem, and beyond. George soon rose to the rank of Emir of Emirs within Roger's court, cultivating diplomatic and commercial relationships throughout the Byzantine Empire and Islamic caliphates that brought southern Italy to its economic apex. Overall, the economic reflowering of Sicily brought a new age of prosperity onto its people and strengthened its multicultural identity. The kingdom's major cities such as Palermo, Salerno, and Messina, which had been in decline after the brutality of the initial Norman conquests some 70 years prior, began to flourish once more.
That's awesome, man. Smart though, man.
Orthodox Christian and Greek-speaking neighborhoods existed side by side with predominantly Muslim and Arabic-speaking communities, while mosques stood alongside churches and synagogues as all peoples of the book worshipped freely. On Sicily's
And as I'm saying, the sky's the limit. If you guys can work together instead of like fighting each other, man, like there's so much you can achieve. That can go for like a lot of people today. There's still a lot of hate and conflict in the world, man. If you just kind of just work together. I mean, I guess that sounds so like cliche and all that, but it's just common sense, right?
as all peoples of the book worshipped freely. On Sicily's sun-kissed docks, traders bringing valuables from all across the Mediterranean world sold their goods, the sound of raucous bartering in many different languages filling the air. As much as cosmopolitan commerce was working for him, King Roger never gave up his warrior's roots. In 1146, he launched a full-scale invasion into North Africa, seizing lands from the local emirs in what is now parts of Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya, thereby opening up more of the mercantile wealth of the Muslim world to Sicilian merchants. Remarkably, at this time there still existed a community of Christians on the Maghreb coast who still spoke a Latin vernacular language, some 500 years after the Arabs had initially conquered the region from the Roman Empire. Needless to say, they were eager to accept the protection of their new Norman Christian overlord. As we've seen many times throughout history, a kingdom's golden age often lasts only as long as the reign of its strongest king. Unfortunately for Norman Sicily, this was a rule that would apply to them too. On the 26th of February 1154, King Roger II passed away at the age of 58, succeeded by his son, King William I, known to his critics as William the Bad. While this epithet was probably the result of some contemporary propaganda, William was clearly not the shrewd administrator his father had been, neglecting his duties as king while allowing his officials to do all the work for him. Smelling weakness, the traditional enemies of the Normans leapt into action. The papacy and the emperors of the Germans and the Greeks all did their part to inspire the Norman barons of Apulia and Calabria to once more rebel. The Byzantines even launched a direct invasion of the Apulian coast, aiming to retake the land that had been theirs a century earlier. To everyone's surprise, King William was actually able to put down the rebellions and fend off the invading Greeks.
Okay.
But in the process, he lost his African realms to the Almohad Caliphate. Nevertheless, there were other social problems plaguing William's reign. In the latter half of the 12th century, migration from Western Europe tilted the demographics of Sicily in favor of the Western Catholic population.
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, what was his name? The previous king before William, I forget, but the previous king, he was all about, being subscribing and stuff. And he was probably sending letters and making deals left and right. He's neglecting it. So if he's neglecting it and not doing all these deals, like they say, the outsiders are gonna, jump on those deals or whatever, and uh, if he's letting his council or whatever take over, they're gonna take advantage of that too for their personal gain. They're not gonna care about the nation or whatever. They're gonna make whatever deals gives them money. So I mean, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Like they say, that's just history. When the great kings die, things start to fall apart. When the lesser ones take over. That's kind of sad, though. You got to think about, like, for the people there. Like, I think life's going good, and then things just start to crumble around them.
Tilted the demographics of Sicily in favor of the Western Catholic population. As a result, the multicultural tolerance shown towards the island's non-Catholic faiths began to erode away. By the 1160s, organized violence against Sicily's Muslim population became more common. Over the following decades, an unofficial religious frontier was formed, with Christians dominating the.
I think a lot of that is just people being uneducated. I mean, because these new people are coming in, probably heard some horror stories, like about the Muslims and stuff like that, and then so when they finally meet them for like the first time, they think all bad, and then when more and more of those people come in, it just keeps on going. It's just not good.
An unofficial religious frontier was formed, with Christians dominating the northeast and Muslims increasingly migrating away to the southwest. William I died in 1166, succeeded by his son, William II. By all accounts, William II was a decent ruler. He mostly kept the peace in his realm and tried to revive the conquering glory of his ancestors, dabbling in the Third Crusade against the iconic Saladin, and even attempting to conquer Byzantine Greece. However, neither venture was particularly successful. Unfortunately for William II, his entire reign would come to be defined by a single fatal mistake. During the first half of his reign, he had decreed that in the event that he should die without siring a son, his aunt Constance would be the sole heir to the Kingdom of Sicily. This was an issue because Constance was betrothed to Henry VI of the House of Hohenstaufen, son of the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick. Long had the emperors of the Germans sought to drive the Normans out of southern Italy.
Oh no.
Now, through a cunningly crafted marriage to a Norman princess, they had the legal means to seize the Sicilian throne and end Norman rule in the region for good.
Wow.
Sure enough, William II died with no son in 1189, plunging southern Italy into a civil war.
Did they know how did he die? Like, is there any kind of, like, I'm sure it got covered up if it was by, it was poisoned or murdered or whatnot. I'm sure that was covered up. But they say he died. There's they didn't give us a cause or nothing. And so I wonder if there's any like suspicion of maybe some underhandedness going on there. I'm just curious on that. But wow, talk about it's bad luck on his part, or just like really smart thinking by the Holy Roman Empire. I mean, they were looking ahead to this, and I'm sure. William there was just expecting to have kids and not have to worry about that, and then have the Holy Roman Empire kind of maybe as an ally because they're married, because of the marriage, there'd be whatever. He has them as allies because of the marriage, but he'd expect to have a son, but obviously that didn't happen, and damn, things are just falling apart now. Wow.
Died with no son in 1189. Plunging southern Italy into a civil war. Having no desire to be ruled by a German, the Norman aristocracy elected one Tancred de Hauteville to be their king, but Constance and Henry pressed their claim and had prevailed by 1194. Thus the royal blood of the Norman House of Hauteville was subsumed into the Hohenstaufens, and Norman rule over Italy was formally ended. The
Wow.
ascension of a German dynasty ushered in a new era for Sicily and southern Italy, and an aggressive policy of Latinization. By 1282, the Muslims had all been deported, and the Greek church had been suppressed, paving the way for the region to be entirely Latinized. Despite this, the legacy of the Franco-Norsemen would endure in the region for centuries after their departure. The realm they founded would persist in one form or another for centuries longer. The direct successors of the Norman Kingdom of Sicily would continue all the way up until 1871, when the entire Italian peninsula was unified into the Kingdom of Italy. Yet even today, the splendor of the churches of Palermo harken back to a time when Latins, Greeks and Arabs lived side by side under Norman rule. Meanwhile, the bones of the fallen, from Naples to Syracuse, remind all of us of a time when the descendants of the Vikings ruled in the heart of the Latin world. Once again, thanks to Battle Warship Naval Empire for sponsoring this video.
Is that it here? I think it is. Oh.
Please consider liking, commenting.
Okay, that's it. Wow. So that's how, obviously it had to end something like that, right? I mean, it's the last episode. I wasn't thinking about this, but it had to show how it felt, had to fall apart and everything. So, I mean, I guess it was bound to happen, eventually. And it's kind of cool how the influence, like, stood for so long afterwards, man, up until the 1800s. So, wow, a really great episode, and yeah, I guess there was war, but there wasn't war. It was just kind of, I don't know, man. Sicily, man, it was the bomb place there for that short period of time. Everyone kind of lived in harmony and everything, and all good things that come to an end, and then yeah, that's it. I mean, but there's the whole series, guys. The Normans, man, they locked their place in history. Things go. I mean, they did great things and all. It's just, I guess bad leadership, and I guess, yeah, just like circumstances just did not work out for them there in the end. But definitely a great series, a great series. Well done by Kings and Generals, man. You guys never disappoint. I hope you guys enjoyed this. You're still watching me. I notice how these series tend to get less and less like views as they continue. I guess people lose interest or whatnot. I understand that, but definitely, definitely interesting. It's definitely one of those series that I guess you don't ever really think of to kind of watch and learn and stuff, because it's not one of those which I'm sure is one reason why it's not hasn't been like super popular, is because it's just not as well known. So it's definitely cool, at least for me, to kind of jump into something that I really knew really nothing about. I never knew this was even a thing, the Norman conquest. So definitely cool. Yeah, and it's also one of those things. Obviously, you know the more well known stuff, obviously like World Wars and stuff, are gonna be more popular on a channel. It's more well known, so people are more likely gonna click on it. Which is, I'm sorry, I tend to go for the more popular stuff just because I have a very small channel. So just to try and grow the channel, it just makes more sense to go with the popular stuff. I'm sorry if that like offends people, but I do tend to go towards the stuff that's, I guess, more well known and more popular, just because I'm just trying to grow the channel. And so once the channel, I hope the channel grows, it continues to grow to where when we do go to the more stuff that's not as well known, we kind of have more people kind of watching those videos, and learning more about that, because the channel will have been growing a little more, and there's more people that would be more interested in that. I hope. No, that's just come on my views on that. So yeah, so it's just one of those like, if I have a bunch of requests and a couple I'm really interested in, there's a video that's not so popular and there's one that's more popular, I'll tend to go for the more popular one. It just makes sense. Unless I'm like extremely interested and really want to do that one thing, first, then I'll do that. But that's kind of my mindset for you guys. So just letting you guys know for a future reference, you know. But anyways, guys, hope you liked this video. Hope you liked the series. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate you guys, on these journeys with me, So hopefully you'll start another journey tomorrow and all that fun stuff. But anyways, guys, you guys have a great night, great day, and I don't know. I have no idea what we're doing tomorrow. I'm sure I'll probably scroll and look through some requests and find something, interesting and cool to do. But that's about it, guys. Peace. You guys are amazing. Love you. And I'm out of here. See you guys later.